Hey guys, Sweetchins here, and I've just been looking at the reviews for the game Thief, and I kind of saw this coming. Short story, basically, it's got really mixed reviews. It's like some GameSpot give it a 6 out of 10, IGN give it a 6 out of 10, Machine Mark give it 8.5. Some people are giving it really good scores, and others are just like, I don't know, slagging it off basically. One main issue that's coming out, they're saying, is loading times in areas. They're saying it feels like the game's been limited to the old gen. And this is something I've been saying for a while. I've been saying that to move forward with gaming, I mean, we've kind of seen the full extent of the old gen, like the Xbox 360 and the PS3 now. If you want to improve your games, and if you're going to make a game on the next gen now, just make it for the next gen. Sorry. Because if you're making it for the old gen, what more can you do on the next gen? You're not going to add something completely different that's going to allow people to miss out on the old gen. Just take the risk and make it for the next gen. Because you're basically just holding yourself back and you're stretching yourself further cost wise just to get it on multi-gens. Like, loads of people who've got the new gen, it's not like they don't have the old gen. So if you just want to make an old gen game, just make that. It's fine. But if you're going to make a next gen game, personally, just make it on the next gen. Because if I see a game is on the old gen, then I just know that it's not next gen. It's on it, but it's not a true next gen game. So I don't know. You know, it's nice for everyone to be able to play the game, but yeah, you know. But anyway, back to Thief. Like, when I saw trailers for this game, because it's like a reboot, I kind of just had this feeling that it didn't have the Thief vibe that the old games have, because they were really hard and they were really stealth orientated. But this seems to have a lot more action to sort of, I'd say, cater for the casual gamers. And problem, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. I haven't played it yet, so I can't give full judgment on that. So maybe I'd really like it, and maybe you would too. So, you know, I think I'll wait for it to go on the Steam sale or something, you know. I'm not going to get it just yet. But it feels like they was using the name Thief as a selling point itself, instead of making a successor to the Thief games. This feels like, to me, you've just made a game with the name Thief on it, but you've misunderstood what made Thief Thief. It just doesn't, and I think this is happening with quite a few games now. You get, basically the big titles are letting us down now, and it's getting pretty scary now, because you had Final Fantasy 13 games, that whole trilogy, that was really poor. Now you've got Thief, and that's come out and that's been really poor. There's been other games as well, but I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, it was just kind of a letdown, because I was hoping that would be a really great game, but it's a shame. If you don't, just create a new IP if you want to try something different, because stop hanging on to the old franchises. Like, there's only so many games a franchise should have, in my opinion. Otherwise, they just become boring, repetitive, and it just feels like you're just making that game for the name to keep it selling, but you don't want to carry on what made that game. So, you know, but all in all, the graphics still look really good, but still you have to cater for the old gen. So I don't know, maybe, you know, it's got really mixed reviews, so maybe it is a good game, maybe it's not. So they said the story was poor. Story for me is such a main thing. I hate if a game doesn't have a good story, because I prefer story over gameplay, because story for me keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to get to the end of the game. So even if there's side missions, I'll do the side missions, but it's always nice to know you've got the main story left to complete. And if it's a really good story, it sticks with you, you know, and it stays in your head, and you might play it again. But hey ho, one thing people did praise, it's kind of open world, but there's loading times, so it's segmented. But when you're not on a mission, you've got a bit of open world of the city, and you can just break in and steal things and get money. I thought that was a really cool idea, and just to stress again, if this was just next gen, you wouldn't have these loading times, and you could have just expanded on that so more. If that's something that's made it successful, then if it was on the next gen, you could have took it to a whole nother level. But hey ho, it's done now, so there's not much we can do. But talking about franchise games, the next Assassin's Creed, guess what? It's not set in Japan. Fuck! I made a whole video on that, saying why it should be set in Japan. But Jade Raymond, who's like, I think she was a lead creator, I think the first one, but she said something. She said the next one won't be set in Japan, but she said it will be set in one of her favourite time periods. Girl, what's that mean? Give us a little more, please. Unless it's China, I don't really want to know. I can think it's going to be Egypt or something, which is kind of the same to AC1, that whole Jerusalem sort of thing. I'm not saying they're like the same countries and, you know, anything like that, but it's kind of that deserty, sandy place. What other time period could there be? If it's China, fair enough. I'm not saying all Asians look alike or anything like that, so please don't say I'm saying that. But China's a really interesting place as well, with like the architecture, locations, weapons and whatnot, and like what happened with the wars and whatnot there. But I'm gutted it's not Japan. They said that's a really interesting location, but we're not doing that yet. And I don't know, you could have turned the franchise another direction, but obviously you didn't want to do that. So it's just kind of a shortish video, so please subscribe. And Jade Raymond, if it's not in China, go fuck yourself.